Hey guys, it's Sarah. It's not the weekend and I'm not at home. I'm in my car, just outside of work. Got to work a little bit early and I was thinking about some stuff on my car ride. And I was listening actually to Phil's video, and I had watched Sarah's video from this week yesterday. I've been trying to watch more videos on YouTube as well, which I obviously had stopped doing for a while also. So I thought rather than wait until the weekend to not respond, but just to kind of share some things and maybe clarify a little bit what I've been trying to talk about in my last couple of videos, that I would, I don't know, come at you this morning for something a little different, like no makeup on and early morning. So yeah, I guess the great thing, about YouTube is making YouTube videos is super helpful for me, just in trying to figure out where I'm at and what I want, why I do things, all that stuff. But I also feel like watching videos, of course, is incredibly important because it helps you to clarify your own thoughts sometimes. And I feel like that's what happened this week. So as I said, I watched Sarah's video. I just listened to Phil's video on my way to work in the car. And both of those videos actually helped me to kind of really distill what I've been trying to say in my last couple of videos, which I think is really about self-examination and self-awareness. And I know I talked a little bit about in my second last video, not the one on body positivity specifically, but the one before that, I talked a little bit about, doing it for you. But I think we talk about that a lot. Like we talk about, you need to have surgery for you, you lose weight for you, your goal needs to be for you. But I don't think we really talk about like, what does that mean? Like, what does doing something for you mean? And so I think that's really why I'm back. My whole reasoning, I talked about wanting to offer maybe a different perspective in the community than what I normally see. And definitely, I have made more than one pontificating video in my time. When I was in my I know everything phase, which many of us go through after surgery, that is not me anymore. The more farther out I get, the less I realize I know. So this is definitely not about me trying to tell, everybody out there how they should do things. This is about me sharing how I'm doing things. And really it's about me trying to make you question why you do things, how you do things, and just think. That's really ultimately, I think my goal is just to make people think about what they do, because sometimes it's easy to be on automatic pilot in life in general. And just do what other people tell you or do what you think people want. It's harder to really take a hard look at yourself and decide what you want, and sometimes to stand up to people and say, no, this is how it is for me. This is my truth and I'm going to live my truth. And I think that's important. I think living your truth is something that I have been learning slowly over the last maybe 5 years or so. But really in the last year, I think I've really kind of been trying to develop that, the idea that it's okay for me to want things, and it's okay for me to put myself first sometimes, and it's okay for me to not do what's expected or what people want. And I'm not going to super get into this because this could be its own video, but I think a lot of our feelings come from that fat girl or fat guy mentality where we want to please people and we want to do certain things. And again, it doesn't mean that those things aren't right or that they're not good for you. But if you are solely doing them because of that, because it's an expectation or because someone else told you so, that's where the problem starts, I think, or where it can start. So I know I talked about numbers. And I talked about how, in the community, I feel like we sometimes have a real, Sarah described it as a hyper focus. But yeah, for sure. Sometimes we have a hyper focus on numbers-based goals. Numbers I was more sort of discussing numbers as a goal. I think numbers as a metric are important. It is reality, right? I mean, weighing yourself is important. If you don't weigh yourself, that is also its own thing. You can say, you know what, I'm not going to pay attention to the scale, and that might work for you. I know not paying attention to the scale doesn't work for me because I am tall. I'm big. For me, I could gain 20 pounds and only then notice that my pants don't fit the same way. So it's not like I'm petite and when I gain 5 pounds, I notice the way my clothes fit. Doesn't happen. Same with losing. So I need to weigh. And it's not that I think numbers are unimportant. It's more that I think you need to really pay attention to why you react the way you do to those numbers, why a certain number is important to you. Do you really understand what that number is measuring? And once you can take a look at all those things and decide how you want that number to be meaningful to you, then I think, you know what? Hey, go for it. It's not that I think that number goals or numbers as metrics aren't important or aren't something that you can use. But again, I think this is a very personal journey and everyone's mind works differently and everyone's body works differently. And, you know, for some people, those metrics are super important and they have a very healthy outlook on what that number actually means. For some people, that number it holds them back. So I guess in talking about that, what I really wanted to sort of share is, you know, examine what it is, what you're sort of like examining your relationship with food. Examine your relationship with numbers. I know I don't really have a good relationship with numbers. I have talked about it before, but at my lowest adult weight before I had weight loss surgery, I was 17. I was not in a good place. I had an eating disorder, truthfully. I wasn't in a good place in my life, mentally and emotionally. And that number, that lowest weight number, to me was always tied to that time in my life. And I had a very negative view of it. And it actually caused me some trauma, to be honest, in my losing phase and when I was approaching goal. Because my goal weight was slightly under that number. And I think I made a video actually, or maybe a couple videos talking about that. When I reached a goal after surgery, I was also not in a good place in my life. It was also a very traumatic time. And again, that number has a significance to me. It's tied to a time in my life that I wasn't happy or I was in turmoil. So for me, those certain numbers, those are tied to things that aren't happy memories. And so I know that sometimes I have a negative relationship with a certain number on a scale because of experiences I've had. But that doesn't necessarily affect every number. So I can get on the scale today and look at that number and realize that that is just one measurement of how I'm doing. But it doesn't give me the whole picture. And Phil talked about that too, that, you know, it's about a holistic approach. And I absolutely agree with that. I don't think we should just, you know, take numbers and throw them out the window. But I think there needs to be, for most of us anyway, more than just that. But more importantly, you need to figure out for yourself, what is it that is going to satisfy you on this journey? And most importantly, why? So if you have a number goal and numbers are really important to you, why are they important to you? Because there could be a very good and healthy reason, or there could be a very unhealthy mentally or emotionally reason for that. So number goals, you know, size goals, it's not that there's an issue with them, but it's more about your relationship with them. So why is that your goal? And if you examine why that's your goal and you are happy with that, that's great. It's all about what you are comfortable with and what you want and understanding that. And that's kind of what I was trying to get at in my video, but I don't know if the numbers example is necessarily the best one. Also, conversely, I also talked about body positivity in the community. And I had said that I thought that, the community was sometimes lacked in body positivity. And I wanted to make sure I was sort of clear on that, in that I didn't necessarily mean anything negative by that. I think that we all support each other. I don't think there's, body shaming going on or any of that. So it's not that I feel like we are negative about it, but what I meant was we don't talk about it very much. So what we do is, when we get into a smaller size, when we lose weight, when we do all these things to make ourselves smaller, lighter, however you want to look at it, we celebrate, right? Perfectly normal, totally okay. When we gain or we make a bad food choice or whatever it is, we beat ourselves up, right? So this is an internal thing. It's not that the community is putting this on us, but we do this to ourselves, and then we share that, right? And then we all fraternize about it. And I think that my issue is more that there are not enough people spreading the message of body positivity out there, because if we don't talk about it, then our silence speaks volumes. There's, what is said, and then there's the undercurrent that runs through it. And I feel like if all that we're seeing in the community is people celebrating losing weight and wearing a smaller size and beating themselves up about not fitting into their pants or having, regain or whatever it is, the undercurrent of that is the message that we aren't okay as we are. We are only okay if we are constantly shrinking. And I don't think that that's a healthy thing to take away from this journey. So I feel like we can't be silent in saying it is okay to not get to your goal. It is okay to have some regain if it's okay with you. And that's the thing. I think sometimes we have a problem also supporting people when we don't agree with their choices. So, if I say I'm okay with my regain, which obviously I'm not totally okay with it because I'm trying to take it off, but let's just say, if I say I'm okay with my regain, people who aren't okay with their regain are automatically going to be uncomfortable with that. And they're not going to come out and say, well, good for you, Sarah. Because that's not how they feel. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with not being okay with regain. So, that's the thing too. I certainly understand the idea of not being okay with even 1 pound of regain. I know people in the community that are not okay with that at all. And they actively, for years, have, maintained their lowest weight. I think that's great. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. I think that feeling that that's the only option for you, though, is where that can be dangerous. And again, I don't think that's the community putting that on anyone. I think that's a personal thing that we do, or some of us do. So really, for me, it's all about questioning. Question everything. Question yourself. That is the only way. And that's just a life goal in general. Question everything. Learn to know yourself. The more you can figure out why you do things, why you react certain ways, when you have an issue that you're working on, and weight and body image is certainly one for me, my whole life. The more you know, the easier it is to figure out how to work on things and figure out where to go from where you are. So I guess that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today is, really my message is know yourself. Do that mental work. Ask questions. Question everything. What's my goal? What do I really want to get to? What's going to make me happy? Why do I feel that way? What's driving me? Am I being true to myself? Am I living my truth, or am I living somebody else's? So yeah, I guess I just wanted to make a video and clarify a little bit of that why I'm back on YouTube sort of message. And I will still make a video this weekend because I am going to talk about my regain and how I got there and how I felt about it, because I know a lot of people are wondering about that too. So yeah, see you guys on the weekend.